Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Athena Health Marketplace Partner Webinar Series. Today, we are joined by Lead Squared. A quick housekeeping item for today. We will be taking questions throughout the webinar. To submit questions, please click the Q&A tab at the top of your screen and enter your questions there. Questions will be answered throughout the event, but definitely at the end of the event, should time allow. I'd now like to turn this over to Nick of Lead Squared. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you so much, Nikki, and thank you so much for everybody who's joining in from different places. And I appreciate you taking the time and coming to learn a little bit more about why and when patient experience, what happens when they meet, and how can we enhance efficiency. I would like to quickly introduce my fellow panelists. I'm joined by, first and foremost, Victoria, who's an enterprise account manager with Posterity Health, who's joining us from Denver, Colorado. And then we have Matt Lee, who's the managing director for Strategy Collective, who's joining us from Houston, Texas. Thank you so much both for joining in and doing this, taking the time out and talking to us, and everybody who's joining us to learn a little bit more about how they can do this better with Athena, having a CRM, how can they make their practice a little bit more efficient. My name is Nick. Nikhil Parwal. I am the senior manager here at Lead Squared. I manage partnerships and growth for Lead Squared for all of our US healthcare business. Once again, thank you so much for coming on. Before we start, I want to start by having a quick poll and get some information, get some knowledge, get some background. What is your clinic's primary growth priority? What are you guys focusing on this year, 2025, 26? What are the main key priorities for you guys? I'd really love to know. Take a minute, get in your answers there. We want to know what are the kind of challenges that you guys are facing? Where do you guys look to overcome that? How do you guys want to enhance it? Perfect. I want to start by bringing in Victoria. Victoria, obviously want to learn a little bit and more about what Posterity Health does, about your role, but also want to know what made you look for a CRM, right? So yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining, everyone. So a little bit about Posterity Health. We are a national male reproductive health company. So we do end-to-end male reproductive care. That includes fertility, it includes hormone management, sexual health. And so we actually span across 49 different states. So we are a practice, but we also do have products and health tech. So a lot of moving pieces when it comes to operating across numerous different states with different tax IDs. So Lead Squared's been really instrumental, and Athena's been really instrumental helping us manage that process, since it is a little bit more abnormal than the standard kind of practice of what we see. So in terms of what was breaking before CRM came in, and really where we were as a group prior to bringing in Athena, prior to bringing in Lead Squared, is, one, I would say big thing is inefficiencies. So having to reach out to patients manually, contact patients, contact referrals, literally pulling a manual list of these to send manual text messages using drafted scripts and copy pasting everything in. So obviously that takes a lot of manpower. It takes a lot of time away from what our employees could do on a day-to-day basis. And it took our focus away from strategy and growth, and actually had more focus on this day-to-day operational needs and uplift. And so that's a big thing for Posterity. The other piece is reporting was really challenging for us at Posterity as a smaller company, started and founded in 2021 and quickly growing and trying to scale as fast as possible. Reporting and being able to make strategic decisions based off of set analytics is something that's super, super important to us. So we didn't have all of the reporting needs that we really wanted and that our board members wanted. And so being able to integrate Athena reporting, Lead Squared reporting to really track all of these analytics and make just data-driven decisions based off of that has been a game changer for our business.
Perfect. So one quick question for you, Victoria.
Yeah.
Prior to having a CRM versus now that you guys have a CRM that's working with Athena, in terms of if you had to put, let's say, the time that you guys saved in doing a lot of manual work versus what is being done now because of bringing in a tech stack that's so integrated, what was that like, and how was the learning curve, especially for, as an organization that didn't have a CRM before, and then you brought in a new CRM? What was that transition like? What was the acceptance, and how much time do you guys really save in terms of manual work going in?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I would say there's always going to be a learning curve anytime you bring something new in, of course, regardless of what it is. We actually, what helped our practice was really assigning really super users to this. So someone that was really in the weeds, knows what was going on, is working on a day-to-day with Lead Squared and with Athena, helping us navigate and manage this process. In terms of the actual learning curve, it's actually pretty easy for our team to learn that way, because then we could have internal resources help, disperse information to the rest of the team and kind of be, that kind of bridge between knowledge of Lead Squared, Athena, and the rest of the Posterity team. In terms of time saved, in terms of like just additional enhancements, I mean, it's hard to say how much time has been saved. And the reason why is because integrating Lead Squared and integrating Athena into what we do on a day-to-day basis has allowed us to actually expand our outreach in what we were doing before. So we're actually building through the entire patient journey, which is more than what we were doing historically. It's allowed us to shape our business model in different ways, meaning that when a patient cancels an appointment or no-shows an appointment, we now get notified of that, and we can actually automatically reach back out to those patients and say, hey, you missed this appointment, we'd love to get you back on the books. Or we can notify a referring provider of what's happening in the patient journey. In terms of intake paperwork process, because we actually have a team dedicated to this intake process for new patients at Posterity, we've actually worked with Athena to customize a field that allows us to it will automatically check when a patient completes their paperwork. So our team doesn't have to go through every patient chart and look and see that it's done whenever they are patient prepping. So it's a really quick, easy tool that we've been able to integrate. And so it's allowed us to actually bring on more team members, focus on strategy and ops. And it's something where we've actually been able to scale our touches to patients and our touches back to referring providers, which doesn't just save time, but it's actually helped us grow our partnership and our relationships with other providers too. I mean, healthcare, right? People want to be in the loop on what's happening with their patients. And I think that that's a really huge value prop of what we've been able to, really work on with Lead Squared, with Athena, making sure we're getting that information back to each partner.
Awesome. I think the last question, definitely, like, obviously there are certain expectations when you bring in a technology. You already have things in mind that, oh, this is going to do A, B, and C, and this is how we're going to expand. This is how we're going to have, a lot of ROI on our investment of bringing in a technology tool. But what was the most surprising factor of that impact that you guys saw once everything was in place, right? That wasn't really expected, or you guys were hoping that this was not going to be, the way we thought it was going to be, and it actually surprised you guys?
Yeah, I think I didn't know really what to expect whenever we had rolled in this new integration. It was a very new idea and concept to me and to our practice. And so I would say the biggest things that surprised me, one was just how much work it did save us, because I was the person pulling these reports and texting these patients and figuring that out. But also, it allows us to create like a concierge level service. And so as we expand new partnerships and we expand new service lines and, strategically do this, it's actually something that Lead Squared's been able to work with us on to like make something that's so particular to a specific service, to a specific patient type, which helps us tailor all of our needs to a specific patient. And that's a really, really great thing, because when I initially thought of automation as a whole, I was like, oh, it's a one size fits all. And that actually was not the case with Lead Squared. And so we've been able to really enhance that partnership and go out and actually sell more to different partners and to different, vendors, and say, hey, we can provide the best patient experience to your team member while still saving work. So that was a huge, huge thing for me.
Perfect. Appreciate your thoughts on this. I want to bring this on to before we come to you, Matt. Just a quick another poll, right? Where do you guys experience the greatest patient drop off in your journey, right? Are they dropping off at the first contact? Are they dropping off because of insurance verifications? Are they dropping off, before an appointment being scheduled, after the appointment? Would love to learn a little bit about that. So put in your answers there on the poll. Uh, we want to try and understand how varied the different patient journeys are. Where are the areas that, this can be enhanced, deep dived into? So we'd love to know. Put in your answers in the poll, and we'd love to try and get those answers out as well. Coming to you, Matt, um, you're a marketing guy, and I think in your space, in your world, I would love to learn what you're seeing, the trends in terms of, bringing in being more marketing focused. How does that impact a practice? How can they enhance that, going beyond what they're doing just in the EHR, with other marketing resources that they have available outside that can help enhance them? So would love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So CRM in healthcare, it's going to be the mission control for your marketing and growth side. Otherwise, you end up with a lot of disconnected data between your EMR and your marketing campaigns. The CRM is going to be the way to connect it all. So where it's not enough to run a campaign. You have to kind of know, did it lead to booked appointments and what was the revenue of that patient? It's just going to help close that loop from your ad click to actual patient care. It's where your connected data, your source channel ad creative, that's where you're going to understand lead quality, your conversion rates, your downstream actions like scheduling and patient retention is the other one. Like kind of to Victoria's point, it's not just, hey, come back in for care. It's, hey, Emily, you missed your follow-up appointment for sciatica. Please click here to reschedule your appointment, right? It's a different conversation, a different level of conversation that you're able to have because you have the CRM connected. I think where the EHR tells you what happened, the CRM is going to tell you why it happened, or how to do it better. So it just fills in a big gap that we see when it doesn't exist. You have your marketing campaigns kind of running independently of your patient data. So this just lets you segment, personalize it, retarget it based on actual patient behavior. You're not guessing.
Perfect. Another question, maybe for, practices that are relatively smaller, right, and who aren't really currently, let's say, investing a lot in ad campaigns, but still want to be able to do some level of marketing. What are the key areas that they can focus on, using some of the traditional marketing resources, or let's say marketing campaigns, that can help them enhance some of these patient journeys, or patient retention for that matter? Like, would it just be the traditional like email campaigns? How can they do that better? So just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. Your email campaigns, they get enhanced a bit. There's no doubt about that because you can get back down to like personalizing. I think the reactivation, the retention side is the big unlock with the CRM. It just lets you scale that a little more intelligently, but also just down to tracking ROI, like, and the patient journey where you were, where the poll was kind of going before I started chatting here, like where is the biggest break in the patient journey? Did they stop after a form? Did they never get a call back? Kind of tying back into call centers. We see call centers operating out of the CRM instead of the EHR because, we look at the CRM as like your pre-patient data. After they become a patient, then the EHR gets more involved, right? But they submit an appointment request form or they book online and then they no-show, they're not yet a patient. They're still a lead and a contact. And so understanding where they're falling off, in our plastic surgery groups, like this is a big one because there's so much paperwork and testing and diagnostics that needs to come through before the surgeon will actually see the patient. So where are they falling off, or are they falling off after insurance verification? So I think just uncovering some of that patient journey steps and making sure you're doing thorough follow-up is a big portion.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I say to most prospects that I talk to, and I think one of the things that COVID has sort of done to everybody is, now you can go and you can Google and say, I want to look for a primary care physician near me. And it's going to show you like the top 5 links are all sponsored Google ads, right? And you go in and you're going to fill out maybe 2 or 3 forms. And the first person who reaches back out has your attention, right? It's the speed at how fast that they can reach out to you. The first 2 or 3 have your attention. So being able to sort of do that is, I think, where having a system like a CRM definitely helps, is the ability to track everything pretty much in real time, and reaching out back to the patient definitely helps from a conversion standpoint. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying. If you had to elaborate a little bit on retention, right? I think tracking patient drop-offs, tracking retention, mainly somebody comes in, makes the first appointment, but doesn't really follow through. How have you seen a CRM or leveraging the data that's coming from an EMR in this case be a very core sort of a process builder for some of these sort of use cases?
Yeah, I think most people, most practices we see, they are running some sort of appointment reminder system. I think that's pretty stable, table stakes today. But what we don't see is as much on the recall side, but even further, what we would consider like reactivation. So patient missed their annual checkup. It's not just they missed it by a couple weeks now or a couple months. They missed it by 6 months. I'm guilty of it with my own personal healthcare, and I never hear from the doctors. If I fall out, most just consider me a lost patient. And I think that reactivation side is a huge piece of just dormant revenue. When you know who dropped off and when they dropped off, and you can match that back to their diagnosis codes or their treatment plans, and then personalize your outreach back to them, you're going to start winning them back. And just a really key low-hanging fruit piece.
Absolutely agreed. Another point, I think, question for you, Victoria, I think mainly from a marketing standpoint. I know you guys have a pretty robust setup when you guys are, especially directly marketing side of the process. And that's been a really uptick for you guys in the last few months and obviously the last couple of years. How has that changed from, just being dependent on, data coming off an Excel sheet or just from the EMR, versus now that you guys have a lot of automated sort of processes going in and so much data on tracking where a potential patient came from? How has that helped you guys on, tracking better conversions and better ROI?
Yeah, so from a marketing perspective, and you're right, we use the marketing side of Lead Squared a lot in terms of being able to pull our reports directly from the CRM system, just upload them into that kind of field for marketing. And then actually we can populate our own marketing templates, which actually makes it really easy for an amateur like me to go in and create that myself and then just pass it by my VP of marketing. So in terms of conversion, one, we can track clicks on any of the marketing. We can see what links people clicked on. We can see what their engagement is. There's a lot of different strategic options we can do when it comes to connecting to our systems, whether that is just going directly into Athena and scheduling an appointment from a marketing campaign. We can see exactly where they came from and what speaks to our patients. And a big thing when we look at penetrating different markets, and especially penetrating different markets that are regionally different, is that we see that regionally people respond to just different things depending on what their occupation is, depending on where they're located. And that's why you see a lot of these bigger companies actually tailor their different launches or marketing approaches to specific regions. And so, we might have, someone white collar might respond more to an email format, and you might have someone that is, kind of more blue collar working is likely not going to respond super well to like a thorough, paragraphs of an email. And so it's how do we tailor that approach to the market we have? And we're able to actually do that with the system by the accounts that we work with, by the groups we work with, by the patient demographic. And so for me, being more ops and strategy focused at Posterity, that's a really, really important key initiative that we have to not only market to the patients and be able to track the conversion into Athena, who's scheduling their appointments based off of the marketing campaigns, if they are scheduling, what language is used, that patients are responding to, and then being able to tweak that. And we can also send out mass text messages to a certain demographic of patients that will respond better to that type of marketing kind of initiative. And we can track that as well. And so that helps me tailor different approaches in terms of, going back to our clients and saying, hey, look at how many patients actually are responding to our services. It allows us to go out and, kind of have reach and say that there's a demand for this service in the market, which allows us to expand our partnerships. So I think it's definitely been super helpful from that capacity. The other aspect and the other way we use marketing is to actually reach out to our clients and our partners. And that can be for just a variety of things, are you going to this conference, or, hey, here's an update on what we're doing at Posterity, holiday outreach, just, making sure that we're touching all of our partners and just, keeping them apprised of what we're doing, of different enhancements we're making, and just being good partners and just keeping them out of thought without having to do a boatload of work that we historically did.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Nick, I think there's a key piece there we really have to touch on, and that's by using a CRM like this, you can bring your referral partners together with your direct-to-consumer campaigns in one environment. And that's huge. Like, we have so many clients that both are operating in their own silos, whereas there's a lot of overlap in there. Just because a referral partner, gave your physician's name and said call them doesn't mean the patient's going to go to that physician. So there's still follow-up work to do within that. And I don't know if you want to touch on, Lead Squared and how the referral and the direct-to-consumer side kind of go hand in hand, but that is a really key component that we see too.
No, I would absolutely agree, and thank you, Matt, for bringing it up. I think one of the most common sort of use cases that we are seeing across practice types is understanding, on a weekly basis, monthly basis, quarterly basis, how engaged are our referring sources, right? We have a wide variety of physicians and clinics and practices we work with, but we have no data to say how many referrals did we get from Dr. Jones, or how many referrals did we get from, a Baptist health system that we work with. So tying that hierarchy of the organization of the practice to the doctor, the care provider at the practice, and the patients that they referred us, being able to create that journey and then keeping them apprised without having somebody manually reach out to that referring source and say, hey, we just wanted to let you know that you sent us a patient last week and they've gotten their appointment scheduled. For having somebody in the office remember that and do it is obviously time consuming, but it's also not realistic for somebody to, to have that expectation of someone who's doing so many different things on the patient side to remember to do that. So I think definitely bringing in a CRM that is so powered by automations and having these responses predefined, right, is absolutely becoming a game changer. On the other side, the physician liaisons also, right, who are actually going out there on the field, meeting with these referring sources, telling them, hey, that this is what we do, we're in the neighborhood. For them also to track something like this on the go on their mobile app right? With the CRM that's so readily available without having to open the laptop every single time that they're somewhere, and have this information available when they're talking is definitely game changing. So I would absolutely agree with you both on that piece on, how there are so many different ways how a CRM can basically help a practice in so many different ways, different departments that can use it. And that all ties in back to that same sort of underlying message that we're trying to make the practice efficient. We're also trying to make the patient experience so much better, the referral experience so much better, by bringing and tying all of these things together. So definitely, I would agree to that. Uh, Moving on to our third poll, right? So on average, here's a question. How quickly does your team respond to patient inquiries, right? We were just talking about having that first, attention span of the patient who's filling out a form on your website, who's seeing a banner ad, right? And making that phone call, or they're, getting redirected through a Google ad that you're running. Once you get that information, how quickly are you guys responding to them, right? What's that turnaround time to be able to establish that first connect and get that patient's attention? Would love to know that timeline and how we can help enhance that, right? How can some of this information help you enhance that, to get that conversion percentage much higher on getting the patient? So definitely go in there, put in your answers. I wanted to quickly talk a little bit about Lead Squared, what we're doing in the space. So just a quick overview of the company. We're about a 13-year-old organization. We currently cater to about 2,500 clients across the globe, with presence in about 6 countries. We specifically for the healthcare industry of the US, we've been in the US healthcare space for about 3+ years in operation. Work with a wide variety of healthcare organizations, from provider organizations, health plans, lab clinics, and also about allied health outpatient service clinics as well. So it's a wide variety across different sub-industries, as we like to call it, whether it's mental health, behavioral health, pain management, fertility, dental. We've got a wide variety of customers and use cases that we are seeing, that we're solving on a daily basis, with some of these customers that we work with. As a solution, we've been talking about all of these different pieces, but at the end of the day, it all encompasses the patient journey and the patient engagement. So we're a fully customizable HIPAA compliant platform that primarily helps you focus on your patient intake journey, that covers identifying where you're acquiring these patients, how are they finding you, driving them through that digital paperwork, through a digital intake process, helping you and personalize your engagement with them. I know Victoria spoke about this, Matt spoke about it. How can you leverage different ways of reaching out to them and personalizing that reach out, right? It's not just a generic message, it's not just a generic email or a phone call that's coming to you. How is it tailored to what you're looking for? Helping you do that is one of the key components of the platform. Referral management, we just spoke about. How can we help you build your relationship with your referring sources and the referring practices you guys work with? Marketing automation is a big component of the platform, where we're trying to tie in everything you're doing on your marketing executions, marketing campaigns, whether it's through social media, whether it is email marketing, whether it's drip campaigns. How can we help you leverage that data and tie it back to the EMR, and leverage data coming from the EMR as well for some of these enhanced engagements? And finally is driving advanced analytics, right? It's at the end of the day, it's giving you data to identify where can we enhance a process, where can we be more efficient, where are we lacking, where are we losing out on patient conversion, right? All of that depends at its core on these data points, and that's some of the main aspects that we're focused on as well. Before we talk a little bit about the Athena and the Lead Squared integration and the kind of workflows that we've built out that you guys can leverage, I would love to know, what tools do you guys currently use? Are you guys already using a CRM? Are you using different tech stacks in silos? Are you completely only exclusively using the Athena EHR? So would love to know that as well. And hopefully what we've been talking so far gives you guys a little bit of an insight in that as well. So I'd love to know that as also. A quick walkthrough of what we've been doing and how you guys can leverage Lead Squared integrated with Athena, right? So it's a bidirectional integration, pretty much real time, that helps you focus mainly on core 4 use cases, right? Streamlines patient acquisition, something that Victoria spoke about early on tracking that information, tracking that process, tracking that journey, brings clarity to your marketing efforts, something that Matt spoke about in terms of acquisition, in terms of retention, in terms of those data points, your ROI, right? It helps you identify that conversion metrics. It provides you a full funnel visibility, right? It's knowing, for example, I spent $10,000 on a marketing campaign last week. We generated about 25 leads coming from that marketing campaign. But out of those 25, we were only able to book appointments with 10 of those. And out of those 10, we had 5 of them actually show up and 5 actually, either rescheduling or canceling those appointments. Having that full visibility, tying it back to the ROI and the spend that you made on that on your campaign, that full funnel visibility is what you get by bringing in a CRM that's integrated with your EHR. And finally, optimizing your marketing spend, right? At the end of the day, you want to know what's working, what's not working, what's driving more conversion, so you can allocate your marketing dollars to the right spend and the right campaigns. So what you're seeing right now is a workflow. It's a very common use case that we've solved for a lot of Athena customers. Is the starting point is obviously identifying where you're capturing your patients coming from: social channels, referrals, e-faxes, phone calls, right? Every different source from where you potentially could find a patient. Once they come in, that information is then stored in Lead Squared. It's automatically in real time shared to the EHR, which then sends back the patient ID back to the EHR from the EHR CRM. It runs through the insurance verification engine, which is built out within the platform. It then helps drive the appointment booking as well. Obviously, we have different customers who have different use cases, but that we now have the ability to actually do scheduling from Athena EHR, but actually be able to do that within the CRM as well, which also brings us to a very unique use case that you can actually have patients self-schedule appointments, pulling availability directly from the EHR, right? So you can actually do that leveraging the CRM. That helps patients when they come in, they can fill in their information, they can book a time slot right there without having to go back and forth and avoiding a lot of back and forth and conversations as well, if that's something that you guys want to do. And then obviously updating that information and then tracking what was the outcome of that appointment, right? What are the follow-up notes that have been put in? What are the next steps for that particular patient in their care journey? So we're trying to, and that's what we're trying to build out with the Athena environment and Athena integration, is that a complete 360-degree view of that patient, right from the point of that first reach out to the completion of their care. Perfect. I want to see if there are any questions. I'll stop sharing my screen and we'll move and just see if there are any questions. If not, I have a few questions that, not like a rapid fire. I was hoping this was going to be a rapid fire, but I clearly was wrong in hoping this was going to be rapid fire. But I do have some point questions for both of you, Victoria and for Matt. I want to start with you, Victoria. I think, have you seen an impact on patient retention, and primarily from a reactivation campaign, from the insights that you guys have gathered from the CRM?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one, kind of to Matt's point earlier, right, about just low hanging fruit. A lot of these physicians' offices, patients not following up, and we work in male reproductive health. And so generally working with a male patient base, sometimes there is a little bit more legwork when it comes to getting patients to schedule their appointments and then follow through on their recommended care path. And so using the CRM and using Lead Squared, working with Athena on this outreach to patients, we've been able to target these patients, and we see generally about 30 to 40% more patients stay with us longer, and we can tell that based on just patient lifetime value, right? So how how much like revenue is generated per patient based on their care. And whenever we have a lower patient lifetime value, generally we would say, cool, they dropped out pretty early in the process versus staying with us for a longer period of time. And yeah, and to your point, Nick, earlier, right, when we look at being able to track this and being able to manage this top of funnel down to the entirety of the patient journey, down to even what's the outcome for a patient's procedure that's happened. We can do pregnancies reported, which is really, really great. So it's been definitely a very big uptick in that.
Perfect. I the same question for you as well, Matt. From a
Repeat
retention
your question
standpoint.
here.
Sorry, I'll repeat my question. So what's the main type of, I mean, I think identifying how can you leverage the CRM insights from a retention standpoint, and what are the common themes that you're seeing across your clients? What's the kind of benefit are you seeing in terms of retention by leveraging the CRM insights?
Yeah, I think kind of two-part answer. So we work a ton in private equity, and reporting on attribution is kind of the holy grail for us. It's how we prove our own value. So the CRM is going to get you there. Otherwise, you're doing a lot of manual data pulls and matchbacks and modeling, if you will. You're just going to kind of say, yeah, this is what it looks like for 20% of the patient base, so we'll just multiply it by 5 and call it good. The CRM is going to get you more real data to react to, and it's going to give you a better insight into your marketing source attribution, what's working, what's not. On the retention side, you are going to be able to set up your automations to better capture um, and retain those clients. There's just no doubt about it. Again, like your appointment reminders are great, but like this takes it to another personalized level, if you will. And it's going to also uncover your service line extensions. Like, we look at, and I saw on the poll, a lot of the answers, everyone's after attracting new patients, which is also the number one thing I get asked and tasked to do. But there's two other ways to improve your revenue. One is the share of wallet of your patient. So if you have service line extensions or, other elective type services that you can do, the CRM is going to help you market those to those patients. And then the third one is patient retention. You're going to get more value out of the patient in year 2 and 3, and that's where you hit your ROI, because you're spending so much money to acquire the patient in year 1 in the first place. So again, I think CRM more than anything is going to help with those latter two, but also give you attributable credit for the first one.
Perfect. I think my only last question probably for both of you guys is going to be, what advice would you give to a practice just starting to explore integrating a CRM or bringing on a CRM with their EHR?
I'll start. Nothing mind-blowing or extensive or crazy. Like, just start with the simple stuff. Like, it sounds silly to say it, but I've proven this out so many times. A simple birthday email goes a long way. It wakes them up and says, oh man, yeah, I've been meaning to schedule that appointment. If you're not already doing it, do it. Like, that's just a simple one to set up an automation on. And it's going to poke the patient base. But when you get integrated and you can look at patients who you typically would consider lost or transitioning out of the practice, I would run through those and look at CPT codes against those patients and start some recall and reactivation campaigns to try to get them back in. I think that's just low-hanging fruit most people don't take advantage of today.
Yeah, my recommendation for maybe smaller clinic, newer clinic, stepping into kind of a CRM for the first time, especially with Lead Squared, is one, meet with your account manager and understand the full capabilities of the CRM system. It truly is tailored to your business's needs. And so great idea is just get in a room full of different people with different minds, decide one, what is the goal, and then work backwards. What's the goal you're trying to achieve? And then get ideas out there of what you can do creatively with your CRM system, align on what you want to do, and take it back to your Lead Squared representative, your analyst, and they can help you bring that goal to fruition. It's not super hard, but I think it is going to take, of course, some time. It's going to take some, thought analysis, and then you really get to see that vision come to life in a way that benefits not only your business, but your patients and your partners. And so I think not a lot to lose there when it comes to starting with the CRM system. Try a couple things out, see if it works. If it doesn't work, change it. It's a very easy change. It's very easy to model and to continue enhancing as you grow and as you scale. And I think that integrating that is the first step, and it allows you to free up your team to focus on other initiatives while allowing this day-to-day legwork really be done for you on behalf of you. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Hope everyone, thought that was helpful, but that's been my experience with it. So definitely recommend just taking the first step, understanding what is actually possible, and then figuring out what you want to do with it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you
I'll add
so
one
much.
more.
Sorry, go ahead,
One
Matt.
one more point, Nick, I think is another quick win. And Victoria, this probably falls in your world a bit too, is just setting up the procedure nudges. So the patients who had a consult, but they haven't accepted treatment or scheduled treatment and procedures yet, comes back to a lot of the poll answers we were seeing of like, number one goal is getting new patients. And I saw a lot of the problems in the polls were around the first patient inquiry to scheduling appointments. We see a lot of drop off. Like the CRM is going to help you with that, and really help you get that patient scheduled and booked and accepting treatment.
Yep, 100%. And again, tailoring to your audience, so important, and something that really A/B approach, let you A/B test if you need to, let you just figure out your patient base, try a couple things out, change it if you need to. And I know like Lead Squared has been awesome with us, being able to just kind of give us different ideas and things that we could do to enhance engagement based on what they've seen from, just their experience too. So.
Perfect. I want to take the time to thank you both, firstly, for coming in and sharing your thoughts, sharing your ideas, telling your experiences of the before and the after of how you were able to enhance or see for your clients, enhance going beyond the EMR, right? Leveraging it rather to make the practice more successful, more efficient. So again, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much to Nikki and the entire team at Athena for helping us organize this. And thank you to everybody who joined in for the webinar, taking the time out and hearing us out. I hope all the information and everything we spoke about helps you guys. Feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to Matt or Victoria for any other questions that you guys might have, any way that we can help. I'm sure all of us are going to be available to answer questions and guide you guys. Once again, thank you so much for coming on and joining on and listening in. Back over to you, Nikki.
Thanks for having us, Nick.
Yes, thank you all very much. We appreciate your time today. We will be sending out an email with this recording of the event, and it'll also be posted on Success Community, the same as where you would go to register for our webinar events. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, team. Everyone, have a fabulous rest of your week. We appreciate you.